Welcome to In Heels with Keni Silva, and today's guest is someone who knows chaos and how to move through it. Lisa Stuart is an attorney, public speaker, author, and a creator of drama diets. Who doesn't want to live drama-free, right? Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Keni, for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. Well, I was actually more excited, I think, than you are, because I'm like, drama diet. I want to live drama free. I don't want to have drama in my life. And it's so easy for people to say, well, don't think about that. Don't do this. But actually, how to do it.
Right. I mean, drama doesn't die. Drama is always there. It's a constant. I think of it like gravity, right? Like gravity is always going to be there. How do you live with it so it doesn't affect your life? That's the way I think of drama.
Well, you know, especially I know you have 3 kids.
Yes.
I have 2 kids, and having teenagers, people who say, even if I had a perfect condition and no stress at work, just having children is stressful.
Yes.
And I don't know why I take everything so personally. If I know my child is going through a test, I feel like I'm doing it. And I don't know how to stop that overprotecting, overbearing mom thing that stresses my life and doesn't even impact them, I think, in the same way.
100%. So actually, I don't know if you know my kids, I'm divorced and remarried. So my oldest is 27, and then I have a 25, and then I have an 8-year-old.
Oh my God, I don't know how you decided to have a third one. I'm like,
second husband. Second husband.
It's still going through teenage years. I don't want to do it again.
Right, but I totally get what you're saying, and I always equate, sorry to my son Alexander, who's my first, but I always equate the first one to like the first pancake you make, right? Like you sort of like not mess it up, but you're still figuring it out, right? By the third, you're like really chill. But it's so true, like when your kids are in pain, as parents, especially mothers, we're in pain. We take it on from them, and that is something that I've learned. Like my kids have gone through something kind of traumatic I'm not going to get into, and I've really learned to how can I be there for them without taking on their pain, which is very hard, and giving them the space and autonomy to sort of get through it themselves. But it's a practice.
So how to do it? My son now is he's applying for high school.
Okay.
And I take it so personally.
Okay.
And I don't know why. And it's like, of course, the funniest thing, I give him pep talks. This doesn't mean, we went the other day to the school interview. I'm like, this is not going to change your life in a big, in a bigger picture. It doesn't matter. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, this is the next 4 years is so important. Like, how to stop all that thinking and just to support. And then at the end of the day, go home and be like, hey, I'm watching that Netflix show.
Right, without letting it get through your head. Okay, well, I'll tell you, I did not do that with my first child. I will tell you that. So with him, when he was in high school, and he was at a private high school that actually had its own college counselor. So now I'm talking about getting into college. I actually hired an outside private college counselor when he was in 10th grade because I said to her, I have a feeling he's not going to go to college. Okay, I paid extra. He ended up not going to college. Okay, so I think it was either a self-fulfilling prophecy or I completely manifested it or saw it. But my point is, I took it so personally. I was so devastated through all of that. With my third child now, and I see as an older parent, and I have a lot of new mom friends who are younger, they stress about a lot of things, as they should. And I'm just like, you know what? In the end of the day, I've been through the entire process. I have one child that went, one child that didn't. Everyone ends up where they're supposed to end up. And we as parents stress so much and put so much on them about it that I really learned to not take a step back in their education and what's best for them, but in really internalizing that emotion as like it's going to be devastating if they don't, which is kind of are there, and we hold this container for our children and be like with your son, like he's going to get into the high school he's supposed to get into, and nothing is set in stone either, and everything is it really does turn out the way it's meant to for each child, even if we don't see it that way.
You see, my first one is my daughter, and she just she knows everything she wants. I don't have to even do anything. She's like, okay, this is the high school, this is the college, this application. Because I tell her, I'm like, hey, I didn't go to college, to high school in the United States. I have no idea. I don't even know like whatever freshman, how they call it. I know 10, 11, 12. That's it. Don't ask me. I don't know. Figure it out. And she did. She's amazing. With my son, it's a little bit different. Maybe because it's boys, they need a little more direction. They're mature, much, older. And now I'm like, oh my God, I only want to go through this twice.
Oh my goodness.
And I have the same thing. I'm like, listen, you're going to go to the high school you're supposed to go. You're going to end up where you need to end up. But I also feel with certain kids, you kind of have to navigate them.
Oh yeah.
And give them that push, because otherwise they're not going to be anywhere.
100%. So it sounds like your daughter was not the first pancake.
She was in a different way pancake, but in that, she's just like me. Like, okay, I know where I want to be, and she's the girl.
Right.
I think girls mature faster and they know what they want.
Yes, I could say that, having two boys, although my second always knew what he wanted. He was self-motivated. He was like, he just shot like an arrow wherever he wanted to go, very focused. But that could have also been because he saw all the times we were on our first, my first child of like, you got to do this, you got to do that. And he would hear that echoing in the background that he didn't want to deal with that. He just did it. So different children, same mother, different children, they all have their own direction and what they're going to do.
What about the third one? Is he like a pancake, or he's a little bit already?
She's a firecracker. So I had my two boys, and now I have my daughter, and my friends were like, okay, now you're going to have the easy one. I think she's the hardest.
She's a girl. What do you want?
She's a girl. She's 8 going on 18. She's a force. She definitely knows what she wants, and she's very vocal about it, which is very good.
And she's the first girl in the family.
She's my first girl, yes.
So she probably gets so spoiled by her brothers.
Oh, so spoiled. So spoiled. She's delicious. They're all great. And here's the thing. When you have kids and they all have different ideas of what they want to do or don't know what they want to do, and you feel like you kind of have to light that fire under them, you're doing your best. You're using the same skills with different kids, and different kids need different attention at different times. And I always say, drop the mom guilt, right? Like, just eliminate that. Like, it serves nobody. Yes. We're all doing our best.
No, that's what I tell sometimes, because I went through divorce and my kids only see me 50%. And a lot of times that comes with so much guilt. And I'm like, well, maybe this is because of this. Maybe this is because of that. And even, like me spending time with it, it's like, oh, we do have guilt. But then I look at other kids, I'm like, listen, their kids live in a perfectly normal household with 2 parents, and they go through so much. So it's not just based on, kids going from home to home or being with 2 kids. It's, how much time you spend and what you talk to them about and all these things. And at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? I provide what I'm supposed to provide, a beautiful life for them with, all the available things they need. And what they're going to do with their life, it's on them. I'm not responsible.
100%. So a little bit of background of how I got to the drama diet was I went through a very contentious divorce when my boys were 9 and 11. I don't know how old your kids were when you...
They were 9 and 13.
9 and 13.
Similar.
Okay. So mine were 9 and 11. It was not pretty. And my boys would always say, well, how come we have to live like this and look at our friends who have such a perfect life? And I was a product of divorce myself, but I would always tell my boys, I would never sugarcoat it. I would say, yeah, it really sucks. It's not fair. You're right. I'm sorry. And this is nothing that is going to change. It is what it is, but you will be more resilient in the long end. Like, I never sugarcoat it for them. Like I just said, it really sucks. And as like you do, I was doing the 50-50, which destroyed me inside because I wanted them, all the time. And then we went through a period where my ex-husband tried to do parental alienation with my current husband when we resumed dating.
What does that mean?
That the kids aren't allowed to be with me when he's with me. So I went through 2 years of pure just chaos. And he was really influencing them in a certain way, but I always stuck to my guns. I always kept open communication with my boys, and we're like this today. I mean, we're like this. And even as recent as like the last few weeks, they still bring up stuff because I'm like, you still haven't processed all the trauma I put you through. And like, Mom, you didn't put us through trauma. Like, I'm like, but I got divorced and this happened, and I'm very much into like mental health and, getting help. And they're like, Mom, we're really okay with you. Like, they really are. Like, we're very close. We've had conversations. And I think for a lot of kids their age that were growing up, they sort of, and no judgment there, they lived in this bubble where everything just sort of worked out for them, right? My boys, they didn't. But I feel like it gave them the tangible skills to be able to deal with things in their life that other kids can. And those life skills you can't get from school.
Yeah, no, and I always actually tell them divorce actually helped you all out.
Yeah,
you became
positive.
so
Thank you. You should be
self-sufficient.
thanking us.
I mean, you were growing up in a pink bubble, you know, and if anything happens, I remember when we went to New York and we're crossing the streets and even it was green, but the cars were going, they're like, Mom, why is this? I'm like, hey, you're not in Orange County anymore, Dorothy. It's like, this is real streets of New York.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, they're never going to survive.
Yes.
And I grew up in Moscow, and I grew up in a household that my parents were married, but I wanted them to get divorced. So I was the opposite. I'm like, hey, listen, like, I wanted to get divorced. Since I was 12, I wanted them because I saw they were not happy. I saw that I felt the reason for them staying and being unhappy, it's because of me, because they wanted to provide that home, you know, perfect, you know, mother and dad family, but it was not.
Right.
That's why when it came to me, even it took me a little longer, but I'm like, you know what? The kids feel it, the kids see it. Maybe they feel like it's a safe place because they're all afraid of change. Like I was afraid of change. They were afraid of change, how it's going to happen. But I, same as you, I was very honest and I said, listen, I've never been divorced and I've been divorced with kids. I don't know how it is. We're going to have to figure it out together.
Yeah.
But one thing I can promise you, I will always be there for you. Even on the days I'm not with you, I'm with you.
Yes.
So you can count on me. You would always have still a mom and a dad. That will never change. Yes, it will go from home to home, and you're going to have to figure out a lot of things, and you're going to have to learn a lot of things, but it's all good. You're going to have to do it no matter what.
The same thing I said to my boys as well was, as long as, you know, I always felt as long as they felt loved and supported.
Yes.
I mean, they were, you know, also in between two homes. Sometimes they would leave one thing in one and one in the other. And it was like, I'd be running something over because I knew my ex wouldn't come bring it. Like, do you know what I mean? I was like, I always felt like I sort of tried to overcompensate for that because it was never, it's not their fault we got divorced.
Yes.
So they shouldn't be suffering more than they need to, right? So I was like, okay, we need to make their lives as comfortable as possible, but at the end of the day, not sugarcoat it as well. So
100%. And I feel like when I was growing up, no matter what situation it would have been, my parents would be like, oh, you figure it out. I don't know.
Different times, right?
It's very different
So
times.
different.
I feel like these days, the way people, you know, raise children, they shelter them so much from pain. But life is not always so, you know, pink and beautiful.
No.
And I don't think they know how to overcome things, and they're not as resilient to any stress.
Right.
They just want everything to be like flat.
Right.
And the moment they see something is not, you know, according to their standard, they freak out. And then they freeze and they don't know what to do.
But I feel like that's also the culture of like that demographic, like their age group, like that's sort of how it's become. You know, it wasn't like that when I was growing up, and I feel like that's something that as parents it's important to instill in our kids, that resiliency, that everything doesn't have to always be perfect. Like it's okay if it's
Well, they
not.
look at all these TikToks and Instagram, and everybody has this picture perfect life.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, Alexis, you know, this girl is probably living in here.
Right.
And you have no idea. She just took the pictures and she's going to work at, you know, whatever joint she's working at, and that's it.
100%. And I'm sure everyone looked at my life that I had when I was married to my first husband, and they thought we had the perfect life.
Yes.
Nobody knows what's behind closed doors.
Yes.
I'm sure that was the same with you. Like, nobody knows what's behind closed doors. You can put up this front, and of course you don't have to air your dirty laundry to everyone, but nobody knows. And that's one thing that I always try to tell my kids, like, you don't know what's going on in their house. You don't know what's going on in their heart, in their mind, like everything that's going on. Like, you focus on you.
So back to this book. So how did it start after your divorce?
Well, okay, so twofold. I grew up with a lot of sort of drama in my life. I grew up in a very like guilt-ridden sort of basis. There was a lot of guilt in my life. I actually have, as you know, the show, The Drama Diet, and I had my mother on one of my episodes, and we had gone through, she's my best friend, but we had gone through like a lot throughout the years. And so we talked about it on the show as well. That's why I'm not saying anything scandalous. That we really had to break generational chains of all of that like guilt and stuff like that. But on top of that, when I got divorced, and I got divorced in 2010, I would walk into the office all the time. You know, I'm a practicing attorney, and I would walk into the office, and my colleague would say to me every day, "What's the drama of the day?" Because there was always some kind of drama, something going on in my life, until I just said, "I wish I can go on a drama diet." And that was back in 2010. And then when I said that, the universe really has a good sense of humor. It like literally put me through the ringer and through the divorce. And then when I was with my current husband at the time, that was very scandalous at the time for different reasons. I can say this publicly because like literally everybody aired this out. So my ex had thought I was having an affair with him while I was still married to him, and I wasn't, and it just caused a lot of chaos. I stayed in my marriage 3 more years, and it was not pleasant. And I did it for the kids. And then when I finally got divorced, he just said, "If I ever find you're with him, I'm going to make your life a living hell." And he did. Basically, fast forward, my current husband and I dated in secrecy for a couple years. Then we broke up. Then we went our own ways, and then we ended up getting back together in 2015. But I knew if we got back together, it would cause a lot of scandal with my ex and stuff. I didn't realize what else would unfold from that. And basically, I had a lot of family members who basically, like, they did it sort of like, long story short, like, my ex was trying to keep my boys away from him, and it was supported by a lot of people for different reasons. And it was a 2-year process of how are we going to do this? And so my boys were with me every other week. So the weeks they were with me, my Russell wouldn't be around us. And the weeks they were with their dad, I would be with Russ. But I would spend that entire week like crying every single day because of how everything unfolded in my life. And my friends would say, like, "I can't believe, given everything you're going through, like, why are you guys still together?" And I'm like, it's not even an option. Like, that part was never the question. He was like my true soulmate, my twin flame. Like, that was never the question. Why are we together? Like, that's just to me the obvious. It's how are we going to go from here to there? And I couldn't figure out how that was going to ever happen and how everyone was going to get on board. And it was every aspect of my life. So,
wow.
yeah.
This is, and since I talk a lot about divorce, but I never heard that. That's a real revenge on your ex-husband's part. He really had it for you, which is, you know, usually men move on faster than us.
He still hasn't moved on. 15 years later, wow. I still get really not nice texts, so, which doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It's just for me, you know, it's my kid's father. I try not to say anything bad about him because I've moved on and I wish him all the best. But yeah, it was not fun, to say the least.
How did your kids in the moments, like, what did you have to say? Because I always encourage even to my children, like, listen, like, your dad deserves happiness even when they're not happy. I'm like, it just happened, you know, to us. So I don't say anything bad about him but in this situation, I'm pretty sure you were just shocked and you had to explain something to the children, what's happening, why they're not, you know, why they cannot be with you.
So let me backtrack a little. I met my current husband when we were both married, and he started teaching my son tennis. So he was my son's tennis coach, and they bonded instantly.
Okay, so they had a bond, which is amazing.
They had a bond, and I think I started writing music at the time, and Russ, my current husband, was also like, he was teaching. He used to be a junior pro tennis player. So from Canada. So he was teaching tennis while he was working on different projects. And so he's like, "Oh, I just, you know, produced an album for someone." I'm like, "Oh, I just wrote songs. Let's work together." So like, we're always both doing a million different kinds of creative ideas. And somehow or other, my ex-husband thought that we were having an affair. And this might be TMI, but I was always trying to have a daughter. Okay. And I actually had 3 miscarriages at the end with my ex-husband, and I was pregnant, and he thought that it was Russ's child. And I mean, it snowballed into this like crazy delusional thing. And I had never even like hugged Russ, shook his hand, like nothing. But like, I guess we did, looking back, we did have an emotional affair. We had an instant connection. Like when we saw each other for the first time, like my soul whispered, there you are. Like it was like this person, like I know him, he's home. So it was like, here I was in this marriage, meet this guy who on paper was like the worst for me. And we both were like this in our souls, never even touched hands or anything. And everyone saw that. So I didn't understand what was going on. And so, of course, then at the time, my ex-husband was like, okay, so your Alexander, our child, cannot take tennis from him anymore. And he forbid me from ever doing music or seeing Russ. And at the time, I was so shamed. I felt like I had the big scarlet letter A on me, even though nothing happened. You know, I'm in this like community where like, you don't do that kind of stuff. And I was like, wow, I'm the worst person in the world when I actually didn't do anything. And during that time, my ex started to spiral for other reasons. I stayed with him. And then it just got to a point where like, you know, I'm living this lie.
And you are an attorney.
I'm an attorney.
So you're supposed to be calm.
Yes.
You know how to weather the storms.
Yes, I didn't at the time. I did not know. Like, I was always living in angst, and I always had health issues.
Did it affect your work?
It didn't affect my work because I really tried to
Or it was an
separate
escape.
it. My work was an escape. My workouts were an escape. I had a lot of numbing out. My retail shopping was my retail therapy. My working outs were my trainers used to tell me slow down. I was like, I don't want to slow down because when I slow down, that's when all the thoughts would come to me and I didn't want to think. I didn't want to feel. I didn't want to think. I just wanted to keep moving so I didn't have to feel what was going on. And it hit me in so many different health issues, and I had like, and nothing serious. But I had 3 different doctors.
It was trying to slow you down to face the problem.
It did. And it finally did. But it didn't do that till like 2016, 2017. So I really wasn't listening, and I wasn't ready to address and face what was going on. And so when I finally got divorced and I dated my current husband in secret, it also destroyed me because it was like this paranoia, like if my ex finds out, like I was really just kind of terrified of him at the time. And then we ended up breaking up. It just got too stressful and things happened, and I took a break, and then I dated other people publicly. And I had somebody that I dated for a while. My kids knew. And so getting back to your question about the kids, my kids knew, and they saw different people I would go on dates with. They were in high school at the time. But then when Russ and I got back together, before we told anybody, my boys, who are like these boys that are like athletic and too cool for school and like very like, you know, macho, they're very boys. They don't talk about feelings. They both said to me one day, we know you're dating somebody because we've never seen you this happy, and we want you to know we're happy for you.
Oh,
and they
so
never said that
sweet.
about anybody else, but they didn't know who it was. And I was terrified to tell them because I was like, we love you. We always liked Russ, and we've got your back. Like, we are there for you. So I brought Russ over, blah, blah, blah,
That
blah.
was a big relief for you to hear that.
A huge relief.
Because I know as a mom, everything I do, I just want their approval.
For them,
Yes.
especially during this realm, and especially when it's like already the relationship was like with the divorce and everything, because of course I was the one that asked for the divorce, and of course my ex made sure they knew that I was the one that asked for the divorce. So I felt like I had to be kind of, while he's still sort of bad-mouthing me all those years into this day, I really tried to not tell them the behind the scenes what was going on to protect them.
Yeah.
Which they eventually found out and caught up with them. That, you know, but it's okay because they need to know everything,
That's
know,
life.
for them.
That's what
life.
happens.
That's life. So when they finally, you know, and my ex found out, he literally said, enjoy this while you can because I'm going to turn them against you. And he did. And for the next 2 years, and my boys, and I was hysterical, and I said to them, like, you know, I'm really in love with Russ, and they're like, but we can't be around him. Like, we just can't. And I respected that, even though it killed me. It killed me. And then at one point, I even brought, my friends like, you got to bring Russ over. Like, this is ridiculous. And I brought him over like maybe half a year later, and they left for 2 months on their dad's instructions. And I don't fault them for that, but it was very hurtful for me. And
So
we
you haven't seen them for 2 months?
every now and then, but they wouldn't stay with me. And then we rearranged and we renegotiated. You know, I'm dealing with my ex, not them.
And how old were the kids at the time?
They were in high school. They were
Okay, so
in
they
high
were
school. They were
driving.
in high school. One was driving, yes.
Okay.
And so Maybe they weren't driving yet. I'm not sure if they were driving yet. Maybe one was. So anyway, long story short, we were
But isn't it that time where the kids can make a decision, or they're so brainwashed by their dad that decision will only rule towards the dad?
He is, sorry boys, they know this, but he's a bully. He's a bully, and it just got to them too much, and it was too much for them. And as their mom, you know, I would have conversations about it and stuff, but at the same time, I said, I don't want them to have to suffer more. Okay, this is how it's going to be. So we were supposed to get married. We got engaged. We got engaged in the summer of 2016, and I wouldn't talk to Russ for 2 days after he proposed to me, because I said to him, don't ask me to marry you until I know the boys are on board. And he asked me to marry him a year after we got back together. And I was like, of course I said yes. I was so happy. And then I was like, I can't believe you did this. He's like, what? I can't believe you proposed. Like, so I didn't tell anybody for like 2 weeks or 2 months. I got engaged.
So something so beautiful turned to just something
I know,
so...
I was like, how can you do this? I was like, so crazy. And then I told everyone.
This is how we overthink everything, I feel like.
I mean, literally, and I think another person, I think that I'm a very different person now than I was then. I was very much a people pleaser, guilt-ridden, like consumed with like shame. Like, I'm a very different person now than I was then. But then I was like, everything was just like, everything was exposed, and I just felt like the worst person, and all my limiting beliefs and self-sabotaging thoughts came true, and then some. Like, all my biggest fears like manifested, right? But I didn't know at the time that if all my biggest fears manifested, then all my biggest dreams can manifest too. And so we got engaged in the summer of 2016, and we had a date in the summer of 2017 to get married. And about April of 2017, Russ comes over, and he'd never had kids, and we talked about having a daughter for years. I knew I was gonna have a daughter. I dreamed about it since I was a little girl, and he dreamt about her every night. Like, we knew we were gonna have a daughter together. And he came over in April, and he goes, your oldest is about to graduate high school. Your second is gonna graduate in 2 years. Why don't we push the wedding off for 2 years? I know it'll destroy you to have a wedding, you know, without them. Why don't we push it off for 2 years, and I'll give up my dream of ever being a father, but I love you that much. And what he didn't know is that night, before he came over, I lit a candle and I made a prayer, and I said, if we're meant to have children, like another child, like, then I'm open to it. I mean, I didn't mean then. We were taking precautions and all that stuff. I found out a month later I was pregnant.
Wow.
With a heartbeat.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that was meant to be.
We had a girl. So it happened. And so she sort of was the turning point, and we sort of eloped, because first I was like the mother who's pregnant and not married, right? Okay, so there's that shame. And then we got married, just the two of us. And then my friends were like, you need to have a celebration. You need to have a party. So we planned something in 3 weeks. And I was like, how can I have one when my kid, like, it just destroyed me. If my kids aren't gonna, if my family's not gonna be there. My entire family came, except for my boys, which to this day, they really feel bad, but they were instructed not to. But they came to me in the morning, and they brought me flowers and a card. And my father met Russ at the wedding. Like, it was literally like, you couldn't make this stuff up. And then at that point, things started to get better. There was some other things that happened, but now everything.
So what changed? What did you do to start that whole change of changing yourself?
So I talk about it in the book. I really thought that Russ came into my life to save me. I really did. I thought he came in to save me. I really thought that. And that wasn't the case. He really came into my life to show me that I can save myself. And I didn't want to for a long time. I didn't want to do that. And when everything fell apart, I said to my brother, I feel like the 4 pillars of my life just came crumbling down. And he looked at me and he goes, Lisa, they didn't come crumbling down. You knocked them down, and now you get to build with a new foundation. And so that really happened, is I had to address every single thing in my life that I didn't want to face from my childhood, all the guilt, the people pleasing, the worry, the limiting beliefs, the setting my own boundaries, like every single thing in my life, you know, using my own voice. And I did. And when I started to do it, like, my ex would be like, this isn't you, this can't be you. Like, people, you know, sometimes didn't recognize me, but I just kept going. I just kept going. It was a non-negotiable for me. I just kept going, and it was scary. It was terrifying, you know, but once I set those boundaries, it's weird how it was almost like this shield around me. Every other relationship sort of started to like come to the surface, and it was sort of like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Till it was like, now it's like we all get along so great. But it wasn't that I necessarily did anything or they necessarily did anything. It was, I accepted the situation. I believed, and I was very certain and definitive, this is my life. And everyone sort of like came around to it. And it just sort of happened. It's like, you hear about these things with manifestation, that you can like quantum shift your life and, you know, switch timelines. I never knew how to do that or if that really worked, but like it did happen, because sometimes I'm like, how did I go from here to there? Like, this is one life and this is another life. And I literally just jumped to here, and I look back and I don't have that pain anymore. So it's almost like a different trajectory. And so that sort of set the tone for the drama diet. And so from there, I learned, and I like created these tools of what to do. But everything that I have in my book are from tools that I try to use on myself, because as a lawyer, I'm all about the evidence and about the trial and error and like what's going to work and what's not going to work. And that's where the premise of the drama diet came from.
Wow. It's funny you said that you thought that your current husband was there to save you. I actually, in my book, always say, nobody's coming to save you. It's just you.
You're right. I wish I read your book beforehand.
I'm like, don't wait for anybody. Hey.
Yeah, I wish I knew that.
Only Amazon is going to knock. There's nobody else. This is it. It's just you. And you have the strength in you to do it.
Yeah.
So get that strength and start doing things. That's what's like, okay, I want to learn something I don't know, like on a daily basis. Or if somebody was going through it, what's the first step to say, I don't want any more drama? Or how would you tell them to stop it?
Okay, so I have a 3D formula that I created years ago, and I have hand movements or two, because it really helps. So first I say you have to disrupt the drama, stop it in its tracks. Then you have to deflate the drama, squeeze all the air out, and then you detox the drama, flick it away. And so sometimes if I walk into a situation, I just go like that, so I just don't want to think about it. But I really break it down into like, I think 9 chapters or 7 chapters. It's chapters 5 through 11, and it goes through a whole thing of what does that really mean? It applies to your thoughts. It applies.
So you do go back to that situation. It just, you look at it differently now.
You look at it differently, and it starts with the thoughts that you allow to enter your mind, right? So first you have to say, why am I letting these thoughts come in, right? You've got to look at these thoughts and stop them in their tracks, your emotions as well. But if they keep coming back, you've got to get to the source. You've got to go, excavating within to see why is it still there. That's the hardest part. That's the deflating part. That's where you determine the problem source and you like dissolve where it comes from. And that's where you like do a deep dive, because if you don't go inside and see where it's coming from, it's always going to be there. You can say, I'm not going to think about it, but subconsciously you might. And you've got to take certain actions for it. If you don't go inside and see where it's coming from, it's always going to be there. You can say, I'm not going to think about it, but subconsciously you might. And you've got to take certain actions for it. So for example, throw me a situation.
Oh my God, I can throw a situation, but what you said is exactly right, because recently I went to a therapist, which I love therapists, but for me it doesn't really work. To me, a therapist, I come to my mom, I'm like, Mom, no advice, just listen, and then you get better. But when I went there, I realized that exactly what you said, if you don't work on that internal, then something that happened, let's say 20 years ago, you just stuffed in it. And then the triggering events of current days, they will trigger that pain from before. So you kind of think it's this situation, but it's not.
It's not. It's not. It's so true. And like I said, I used to have a lot of ailments, and I would identify it. Like I had my tonsils out in my late 30s. I wasn't using my voice. I had gut issues for years. I wasn't trusting my gut. Things like that, of that nature. I always felt like I had pressing, like the world was on my shoulders, right?
Yes.
That was always
That's
like
a constant.
heaviness.
Yes.
I have never felt lighter and freer. You would be shocked the things that I'm currently dealing with. Like if you knew, you're like, well, you have major drama right now. Drama doesn't die. Chaos is a constant. So it's not that the drama is never going to be there, because it's always going to be there.
Yes.
It's how you respond to it. And I have some really pressing issues right now, and I don't feel the pressure on me, because I have learned how to okay, this is just how it is. I have a tagline, navigate with fear, but lead with love. Like on my cover, it's purposeful. So it's the scales of justice because I'm an attorney, but there's way more to it. It's because on one side, you've got the energy of peace, of love, of freedom, of joy, of lightness. And on the other side, you have chaos, the drama, the fear, the anxiety, worry, doubt, all of those things, limiting beliefs. And so in any given moment, we know energy, like you can only tap into one energy at any given moment. And you can't have one without the other. So my book is also about the law of duality, right? So if you can't have dark without light, you can't have fear without love. So if you have the energy of fear within you, you know that energy of love is equally strong in your presence. So you just have to focus on that and transmute the energy of fear into love. And the reason why the law of duality and the scales of justice is because we're the fulcrum, we're the middle. We have internal balance because life is never going to be balanced. It's always going to be like this, and it's the ebb and flow of that. So it's a matter of staying present and light no matter which direction or how wildly it swings back and forth. And that has really worked for me.
Which is amazing. You know, I realized for me, I thrive through chaos with work and everything. I'm like, it's down to the science. Like, I don't even stress. But when it comes to the relationship, either, you know, with my children, with friends, with personal this is where I'm like, ooh, like that affects me.
Yeah.
Which is strange because obviously the work-related things is much more important on a scale of, you know, the problems I have or, you know, the financial things, but it never affects me inside, internally. It's like, it just things, it's just life. But anything that has to do with other sides, it's like, I don't know even, I'm like, okay, it's like, I'm shutting that down.
Right, but do you know why? I have an answer for you.
Okay, why?
Can I give it to you?
Yes.
Okay, the reason that your work drama doesn't bother you, but relationship drama does, is because the relationship drama is just a mirror showing you what you still haven't healed in yourself. It's reflecting back. So you're seeing something in the relationship. It's just a matter of what's going on in your life. Everyone's just a mirror reflecting back what you haven't worked on. Because if it didn't bother you, you wouldn't have that thing to work on within you. So if you dig deep and figure out what it is, like for example, I've had situations with friends and I've never been big on girl drama. Like I've never really had friendship drama because I always had family drama that I don't need friendship drama. But sometimes like in the past, I would create these conversations in my head or scenarios of something that didn't happen, but I'm like, this is how the conversation's gonna go. And I have this like fake conversation in my head, right?
Yeah.
Because I like future trip about things or I regret about things that happened in the past and I'm rehashing them on syndication, right? So those things aren't real. Anytime that I have had an issue, this has worked for me so many times with a loved one or a friend, and I've tried this out. If I start going, wow, they're not acknowledging something in me, or they're not like, how could they ignore me on this? Or how can they not be there or support me on this? Or how could, like, whatever it is that I'm feeling unsupported in, this is a prime example. I promise you, the second I accept it and be like, okay, that's not about them, that's about me, like within a week, I get like that phone call, like, oh my God, like whatever it is that I needed the week before, all of a sudden it comes out. And it comes out at a time when I'm not expecting it. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, wow, that really worked. It really is about us and where we're at. And we're just like, everything is just a hologram, like a reflection of our energy of where we're at. So if you're feeling that way, then I would challenge you maybe to see what it is inside you that you're feeling at those moments.
You see, with girls, like friendships and things, it doesn't bother me because I'm so fast to move forward. I'm like, okay, like I have so many friends, like move on. Like I don't, you know, it's because there's drama always, especially with women.
Yeah.
I don't participate in it. I'm like, listen, you're having a day and you want to, it's like, okay, you do you, I do me. I just don't have time in my life for that. And I'm quick to, you know, it's like, okay, new set of friends.
Yeah.
They're like, of course, I have friends that I know for 20, 30 years, but I don't, I move it. And I'm like, okay, you go through whatever I'm always there for you, but I'm, you know, you're going to be on a sideline for right now.
Yeah.
But with children and what they're going through, I don't know. I'm overly protective. Everything, you know, it just, and I know it should not. And I teach that. So it's like, okay, this is it. But I cannot. With my kids, I cannot. And I don't know how to turn it off and be like, hey, this is 9 to 5, my working hours.
Yeah.
And then I'm off. I listen, I read, you know, like the messages or what's happening. And I can't. That's what something to work on me. And maybe because when I was growing up, my mom didn't give me so much attention. She was working, she was in her own, and I grew up in Russia, in Moscow. It was not even allowed to have so many feelings.
Right, right.
Which actually I loved it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times it's overthinking.
Yes.
And over projecting things,
Yes.
where it's like instead of just doing things.
Right, right. Less talk, less thinking, more action.
Yes.
Right, right.
So it's something constant working as a mom to, especially in the modern day. That's why I'm like, oh my God, you decided to have a third child. I don't think in a million years, like, I don't know how much money they have to pay me to do that, because it's so hard to raise a child in this generation.
100%. First of all, we wanted a third child. I wanted a third child. We didn't know we were gonna, like, she was the surprise at the time. Like, we thought we would have to go through the IVF route and everything because I was older. And, but no, 100%. And also it was, my boys were like out the door pretty much of high school. So it was like, oh, you know, now it's time, like, you know, we can travel and do all this stuff. And like, no,
Right.
she's
That's the other
right now,
I'm like,
right?
I just want to be free when I have, like,
Right.
I can do whatever I
Right.
want, anytime I want,
Right,
and I'm
right.
always
Right.
the freedom.
It's so interesting. I had a birthday dinner the other night with my moms from my boys group, right? So I have like different sets of mom friends. And like everybody's like, okay, we're going to Alba to go to dinner. And I'm like, let me just make sure I have somebody to watch our daughter. And like, they're just like, I know you live in like this whole, because they, you know, we all like grew up with our kids growing up together, and they're all like, all their kids are like out of
Yes.
the house. And here I am, right? But it's, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, she's the light of my life. Like, I wouldn't trade it for the world. But that's why I treat her very differently than I treated my boys. Like, when I was pregnant, I said to Russ, like, she's on our schedule, we're not on her schedule. Like, for better or for worse, like, we created this girl that travels the world with us, that, like, you know, we go to dinner, she comes with us. So it's made her grow up sort of in this grown-up world, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
I was a crazy mom. 7:30, time to
Yeah,
bed.
no, I couldn't do that with her. I couldn't
And then
do
after
that.
divorce, I'm like, I had to do so much letting go, because I knew when they're with my ex, my schedule is not going to work there. There, it's like free for all. Like,
Right,
they're going to do
right.
whatever they want to do.
Right.
So I had to do a lot of let go with myself.
Yeah, it's a big
Because
one.
I'm like, okay, what's the worst thing is going to happen? They're going to be tired. They're going to go, you know, they're going to wake up and go to school tired, but they're going to learn faster.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Right.
But still, just not to be in control
Yes.
of those aspects, and be like, okay, breathe.
Yes. Yes,
They're not
that
gonna
surrendering is huge. Surrendering is huge. I think that's chapter 10 or 11 on mine, maybe 10, but there's surrender is huge. Like, that's a big one, the letting go. Huge. Hard to do, but definitely necessary. Yeah.
Well, and then you realize with life, a lot of times you have to let go because there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And even now I have to, you know, again, with children, I guess for me, it's the hardest thing, because I take everything, any achievement, any disappointment, I take it personally.
Right.
And I think especially with them, you know, and I know kids are so, they also use it as advantage when they need to. That's,
Right,
oh, you know what? It's because of this, or it's because of that. I'm like, oh, that's a good excuse. I wish I could use it. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. You have to work harder. You have to do all these things. So you always have to balance when they can use it, because, you know, at the same token, I see when kids their age go to field trips or sleepaway camps, I see their moms are being so attached, and my kids are already like, bye. I'm like, okay, they can technically be going to college. They wouldn't even care, which to me as a mom is important.
Yeah.
That I always tell them, like, hey, but if something happens to me, I know you're going to survive.
Yeah.
And you know you're going to survive.
So important. Roots and wings. Somebody once told me, make sure they have roots and wings, so they always know where to come back to, but they can learn to fly. And I would always tell my boys when they were growing up, because my boys were actually very attached to me, and they're like, oh, we're never going to move out of the house. Well, they both did. And thankfully they did, in the sense that they're independent and we're very close. You know, it's hard when they move out of the house, but you want them to be independent. I would always tell them, even when they were younger, like, I gave birth to you, but I don't own you. This is your life. Go live, be free, fail a lot, you know, fall a lot. Like, if I protect them from something, the universe is just going to keep giving them that lesson until they learn it on their own. So sometimes, as hurtful and as hard as it is for a parent to watch a kid struggle, it could be the best thing for them, knowing you're there to support and love them, because it's their lesson to learn and it's their growth. It's their uncomfortable moment where they have to learn to grow and evolve.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And unfortunately, our time is up and we're gonna have to say goodbye. But for everybody who wants to have a drama-free life and go on a drama diet, I love this diet actually.
It's a great
more than
one.
anything. You should buy this book, and you should also watch Drama Diet Show.
Yes.
With Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing all your amazing tips. I want to learn more, because there's still some drama in my life, and I want to go on a drama diet.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Lisa.
This was wonderful.
Thank you.